It is 10:06, 7:06 in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is where my king has his little adobe shack out there. Charles Moskowitz is sitting in beautiful Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
How are you?
How are you? Doing very well. I got to let you guys know, do either one of you wear a wristwatch?
Yes.
You do? Okay. Well, you could be the first on your block, Charles, to have a drone wristwatch. It is being unveiled today in San Francisco.
Flies around my head?
It's got an HD camera in it, and it's the size of like a wristband, and then in theory, I guess it will fly. So that. Oh my goodness! More useless stuff that you really don't need.
You know what that reminds me of? Brett?
What?
In the original Ocean's 11 movie, where everybody is watching the destruction of the hotel, and the one guy played by Don Cheadle, it's right out his window, but he's watching it on the TV.
Oh yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
One quick update.
Yes.
I have turned a little bit negative on the market here, and in doing so, I have sold our positions out in Whole Foods, half my position in Facebook, my entire position in the Apple, not because I don't think it's going up, but because I bought them for a short-term move. They expire on Friday of this week.
Okay.
And so I sold them just because I didn't want, the stock popped up this morning, and I just didn't want the risk of the expiration to hurt me. And I went long the silver triple ETF in the big account and the options in both accounts.
And Charles, I might add, he was up 100% at the end of last week for the year.
Oh, that's all?
Yeah.
That's
not
amazing.
Bad, not too shabby.
That's not too shabby, I would say. Holy smokes, that's great. Well, okay, Charles, are you feeling a little weird about the market, or?
Well, no. Here's the thing. As I'm sure everybody has noted, because they've been just beating it like a rented mule, the Dow. The actual range of the Dow for 7 of the last 10 days, up until the rally towards the close yesterday, would have been 8 of the last 10 days.
Right.
The range has expanded to triple-digit gains and losses. Now, when you have that kind of volatility, it's usually a sign of a turn. And there's only one way for this market to turn, considering what it's done recently, and that would be to have a little bit of a move to the downside, which, is kind of normal and expectable. But in the letter this week, we also discussed the fact that the Dow has broken its 50-day moving average 6 or 8 times over the last 16 months and has continued to rally to new highs. So the way that we have been doing it for the letter and in the options account is we've been taking smaller and smaller positions. So we're in, if the market goes higher, we're only in halfway in case it goes lower. And so we've just been, picking them off one at a time, like today, selling half of this one, all of that one, that kind of thing. Plus, a lot of the positions that we had were the result of being stopped out of half of the positions on the 100% up move. I mean, the Whole Foods that I sold at $1.03 today only cost 51 cents.
Whoa!
And we had twice as many, and we sold the first half at $1.30. So there was literally no money on the table.
Yeah.
In that position, or no risk. There's always money on the table, but as far as the risk in the trade, it was gone.
Good job. All right. Well,
So we're just, I'm just trying to take it a little easy.
Yeah.
Now, Mike mentioned something in the letter, which is, I think, really important at this time of the year. Everybody gets afraid of October, the 29 crash,
You
the
think?
87 crash, etc. And what happens is it's kind of a misconception. October has, in fact, been the month that those things happen, but it's also usually a reversal month. In other words, we get hurt badly, and then all of a sudden, we turn back around, and we generally rally into year end.
Yeah.
The high volatility
I'm
month.
just being cautious. That's all. I'm not negative, but I am cautious.
Yeah, I remember 87 because I was on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange when all hell broke loose, and that was a wild roller coaster ride. Hey, looking at Bloomberg though, the S&P apparently is up 0.9% this quarter. It is only had a 4-day losing streak, or it has not had a 4-day losing streak all year this year. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting news coming out of...
Well, this market has definitely been what I would call self-correcting. There's good rotation in the groups. There always seems to be, for lack of a better way of putting it, an excuse for why something, why this group is down or up or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, it's a market with lots of different sectors, and people have the ability now through the exchange-traded funds, the ETFs, to be involved with whole groups where, they can buy, an ETF that's representative of a dozen stocks
Right.
in a group,
Right.
as opposed to buying a dozen stocks in the group.
Right.
And so it's much easier to be diversified. It's much easier to take advantage of the rotation. Like right now, the airlines are down. Part of the reason that the airlines are down is because of what happened in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah.
2,200 flights the first day, 1,100 flights the second day, and now it looks like it's going to be October 13th before they can get that facility up and running.
One guy did that. That's what's scary as hell, when you think about it. Just one person affected that large a sector of the travel industry.
Yeah.
That is...
And so, I'm looking at some of these things like JetBlue, which has been a great performer,
Sure.
and some of the others, because they're down. But they're not really down because of news for JetBlue. They're down because the group is down. They tend to operate them in groups. So, that looks kind of interesting to me. Clearly, the metals look interesting to me. We just bought the triple silver ETF this morning. I think that the metals are due for a bounce. And frankly, as strong as the dollar has been, which has been a depressant for the metals, and we could see a little bit of a reaction there also. And the Dow, which was down 49 when we got on the phone, is now down 14. So, this self-correcting mode is
continuing,
really working.
What's kind of interesting, our Florida radio network here yesterday had a story, the rekindling of People's Express Airlines in just a very few cities in the U.S. apparently collapsed yesterday. They're calling it suspended operations because of route problems and some other things, and probably cash.
Well, you have a lot around the world. Like Lufthansa is doing incredibly poorly. They're talking about spinning off. They're talking about spinning off a bunch of their assets, meaning planes and people, to create a low-cost airline. We don't have to talk about Malaysian Air. I mean, they had, from an airline that never had a problem to one that's,
you don't want to fly,
losing its, ridership, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some issues, but the good airlines, airplanes are a fungible commodity. Somebody will pick up those planes, and there'll be another Air Florida again, or they'll buy them at a discount, and they'll start another airline.
Sure.
I mean, you know who JetBlue is, right?
No clue.
AirTran.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, they were big out of Orlando. Actually, the Orlando Magic, their jet is
it was.
jet.
They were gigantic in Florida, everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then they had those. Then they had a couple of problems.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it went away.
Yeah.
And they changed the name, and they painted all the planes. And
I'll be darned. I didn't realize that.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, you can trade these things like they're commodities. Well, they are commodities.
They are commodities. Yeah.
You still see DC-8s running around because if you kept it up, and mechanically was on top of it, these things go forever.
It's amazing. There is an airport just northwest of Tucson called the Marana Air Park. It used to be owned by Howard Hughes. And actually, when I was working there, we had a very strange air crash at that airport. And it was a Howard Hughes experimental airplane. And let me tell you, I have never seen so many paramilitary type individuals. We were trying to report it for Channel 4 out there, and we couldn't get anywhere close to that plane. Yeah. As it turned out, our Phoenix NBC station got in there, and there was experimental equipment in that cockpit that was unbelievable. And, of course, the Hughes company was denying everything, Right. But they had pictures.
Well, it's kind of funny, every time I fly into Miami, as you're landing from the west,
yep,
you see all of those air cargo companies with, DC-8s and 707s.
Oh, yeah.
And, these things, if they're properly maintained, just go forever.
Well, and if they are semi-retired, if you will, because there will be airlines who buy them, they sit in Tucson. Whether it's Davis Monthan.
because it's hot and dry.
You bet. Or the Marana Air Park or Davis Monthan Air Force Base, they're there. And you can just take your pick, whatever, whether it's 737 or 707 or whatever. Yeah, it's amazing. What about eBay, guys, announcing spinning off PayPal?
Well, the stock is up.
It's a great company.
Yep.
Not much can be said. It's a great company. But Charles is right. Now, the United Airlines has come right down to the 50-day moving average, and it's got a possible four-legged Gann bottom. It could be a great buy here at 46. 46 fills a gap, a little gap from that was all the way from August 15th.
And Mike, I remember 8 years ago when you were talking about, if the U.S. ever starts developing its own oil, we're going to be there with Saudi Arabia, and we're there now, probably, 2 years ahead of schedule. And you're noticing, you're talking about airlines, jet fuel costs are down dramatically.
Absolutely, yes.
So I think that is going to be huge for the airlines.
And they certainly look better than the motor stocks.
What's going on with Ford? I guess they took a tumble in Europe, huh?
Yeah. And, it's not like everybody and their brother hasn't been warning us about Europe. You just had to put two and two together and realize that Ford is the biggest American car maker in Europe.
Right.
To see it. But, the stock is down. I just saw it go by at 14 and change or 13 and change, down 48 cents on the day, which is substantial. It's been a tough one.
Yeah.
But the dollar has been unbelievable. It's flying. The dollar got up to 85.62 this morning. It's just been out of sight.
Yeah, the dollar's up like 7% because this year.
Every other country has more serious problems, not the least of which is Australia. Their misery index was at a 4-year high because of difficulties with metals, being able to sell their large producing mines, being able to sell their products. And of course, Europe, because of the Russian situation, Europe, that's the last thing they could handle. So on Thursday, the European ministers are going to meet to consider some Bernanke-type financing. They're going to try to copy some things, some lessons from the Fed.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Like what? Printing money?
Why not?
Some lessons, buying bonds,
Oh, God.
buying assets.
But isn't that monopoly money?
No, you got to respect Yellen and Bernanke. They've done a great job. They should be looked after.
Okay.
They've done a great job. The problem that we have is the geopolitical events in the rest of the world pulling us down, because the higher the dollar goes, the tougher it is for us to sell our products.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
By the way, GoPro is now down on the day at just $89.91.
Wow.
After being, my recollection is that I saw it this morning around 92 or 93.
Yeah. Well, it will go back up, Charles. GoPro also are talking about the drone. TV Technology this morning at 9 a.m. announced that GoPro is announcing a 4K camera. Now this is beyond HD, way beyond HD. And actually, we've got some of our television gear has arrived here, and it will hopefully be installed in a couple of weeks. We're going to be a far cry from that.
Yeah.
But,
in the meantime,
but we
that
will.
was 96.5 this morning.
Whoa.
Currently 90.06, down on the day, and $6.50 from the high.
Wow.
Not that says that it's, that it's over, that it turns there or anything, but, at some point in time, some of these things are going to be a problem.
Yeah. Well, the whole new technology thing, and I think it's amazing coming out of television that they have just all totally scuttled 3D, and it's gone. I mean, ESPN was going to build a 100,000 square foot 3D studio. It's gone. It's going to be a 4K studio.
And the funny thing, Greg, is that if you wanted to characterize who millennials are and who the tweens are,
yeah,
if you look at social media, you would just have to say they are the most self-centered, narcissistic group of people in history. I mean, really, who cares what I'm eating for breakfast on Facebook or Twitter? And really, I mean, selfies?
I know.
If my mother called and said, I don't have a picture of you, I would send her a selfie. But besides that, I mean, what does your mentality have to be that these are multi-billion-dollar businesses out of nothing more than day-to-day job? It's like the last 5 years and the next 5 years could be characterized as the Jerry Seinfeld era. Because if you remember his show,
yes,
it really dealt with nothing.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it was a great show, and it made NBC a chunk of money, and it made him and all of them a chunk of money. But really, the content of it was
show
the
about
soup
nothing.
Nazis.
Show about nothing. Oh, yeah, certainly. Well,
I mean, it's unbelievable, and yet these things just continue to, every day there's a new one.
Well, and what gets me is like the new Apple commercials, where their phone will have a phone will have a gyro. Well, I remember I was in television 15 years before our helicopter could afford a gyro, and now it's in a phone. You can have time-lapse photography in a phone.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. Slow-mo.
And super slow-mo, which used to be an entire truck in our days of ESPN. And it was like, you think you've got to be kidding. But it's amazing. By the way, guys, and Mike, I instantly thought of you. The president of Alibaba, they were talking about China, and is it Mi Shang or Mi Sha something or other, the Chinese Apple? This guy, apparently, he doesn't speak English like the Alibaba king, but apparently he's got a better mousetrap than Apple. And of course, obviously, he's selling to to Chinese and Indians. And that's what, their prime market is going to be for their phone company. But they're going to be looking internationally, according to the show I saw on Bloomberg. But that Alibaba story is amazing.
Yeah. By the way, in case you hadn't noticed, over the weekend in the papers and on the TV, it must have been a slow weekend.
What's a paper? Oh.
Yeah. They were talking about all of the busts that they had of people bringing in iPhones for resale in their luggage undeclared. And then this morning, again, the 16-year-old, $20 million kids Yahoo News Digest app had a story about how China was now going to let the iPhone in now. I mean, they're basically opening it up. So, they went from all of these busts about people bringing them in illegally to, we'll let them in now.
Well, there is, again, I was watching Bloomberg. I was really surprised about this very strong democracy movement in China.
It's unbelievable, Greg.
It is.
And if you see it, I just saw a picture of it on TV, and these people are, I've been to Hong Kong a bunch of times. I really liked it there. Where they're walking is like right in front of the Peninsula Hotel. It's the main thoroughfare in Kowloon where the ferry comes in, where their biggest retail mall is, where their top hotels are. I mean, it's like a 6 or 8 lane road, of course, going in the wrong directions. But the people are just there. I mean, they're standing there.
Yeah.
They have completely blocked it off. And what's today, like day 5?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was thinking, good grief, and listening to whatever that 60-minute interview of the Alibaba guy, he was talking about how he thought democracy was going to, play a part. But, boy, this demonstration is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you notice...
And they're all carrying umbrellas.
And you notice the young faces.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking high school-age kids, college. I mean, it's like, my God, it's the 60s. Except... but I'm obviously, they're struggling for full-fledged democracy, which is interesting. It's like,
but tomorrow, let's welcome Andy Theophon.
Hey, Andy, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We
Good
are
morning.
doing great. So how is the business world in the world of medicine and medical devices?
Well, it's fantastic. People are still getting sick, and everybody needs a low-cost